Okay, yo, what's up, everyone? This is Jerry, aka CHXCMA. Today we got a really special interview. We are with none other than a legend of South African hip hop, Slikour. Um, yeah, so let's get into it. I guess we could start with a little bit of the foundation, the history. Basically, like what was it that got you into hip hop? What was it that inspired you to, start up Scholar Camp and basically, decide to put your art out there?
It was the only means of expression that where that kind of in my personal capacity where I felt like I fitted and I belonged. You almost like become an outcast if you're not conventional with your thinking or with your with your approach on things. So hip hop was like the closest thing that gave me solace, and it made me feel like I'm at home. And and when I saw other black people doing it, meaning from America, it was like I'd never seen black people looking like that before. Because obviously I'm from the hood, I've never seen black people so expressive, so powerful, so so proud. I'd never seen anything like that, and I saw it through rap for the first time.
I hear that. Yeah, because like it's so crazy to think that almost basically at like the foundation of, I wouldn't say like the South African hip hop sound that we hear today. If you go back all the way, it's like y'all are there at the roots, like hearing you guys, even like the first time, my first experience of live music that I can distinctly remember was actually at the Rand show back in like 2005 or 2006. I was about 6 years old or so, and like I distinctly remember like seeing Squatter Camp perform live, and like almost immediately that just it sparked up something within me as well to like, knowing that like, okay, this is the genre that I'm eventually gonna fall in love with, and this is what I want to pursue as well in some capacity, in some ends.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I think everyone has some type of trigger in their lives. You know what I mean? Something triggers it somewhere in their lives.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that 100%. Um, yeah, basically, so like I just wanna ask a little bit more about in terms of if you perhaps have like any advice in terms of what it is to move as a collective nowadays within this industry, because I've heard a whole lot of conflicting things where like early days someone once told me that like there's no point in having a collective because at the end of the day you need to move for yourself, you need to move with yourself. But at the same time, I've heard people say, nah, you should keep, like, when you step into the industry, you have to keep your people who are closest with you, the people who started with you right from the beginning. You got to keep them with you. So, I mean, what's your take on that?
You gotta always the goals have to be the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's hard to find people who have the same goals as you, same views as you. But while you literally struggling to find those people, you need to literally like fight for your place in the space. You know, um, and sometimes the more you fight, the more you attract those people. So sometimes it's not about me coming to you and saying, "Yo, you need to do this." It's me doing my thing and you seeing me and going, "Yo, I actually resonate with that," and you then going, "Yo, I do this too," and we find commonalities. But I think that like people literally like use collectives. The expectation of collectives is wrong. It's maybe like an expectation of a collective. That means that like if I'm moving with the collective, I don't have to do this amount of work. But a collective literally is like it's a chain of strong people who come together to fill the weaknesses of the other guy. It's not a collective of like one strong person and then a bunch of weak people. So you make yourself strong on your own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do hear that.
So I mean, so even as an artist, even an artist literally could be a strong artist, but they need a strong manager. The manager won't be as great artist as the manager, and the artist won't be as strong as the manager, vice versa. But you know, both of them have maybe built these skills independently somehow, some way to be in that space. If the artist started making music in his bedroom when they were 5, 4, whatever, like the cat that literally does management has to be can't say that the first time I thought of management was when I met you. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have been thinking of management before you meet the guy you meeting with, and have been sharpening your skills and following other managers in the world. You know what I mean? So really it's that. It's about sharpening your skills and two worlds coming together and sharpening these skills. That's what the game is about.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. So yeah, also on like on that note, so one thing I've really been, because like, I myself, like I'm an aspiring young artist, right? And I know obviously like the times have changed, but you are in a sense, you sort of stepped into a role as I guess like a guiding light, so gatekeeper as such, with your platform Slikour on Life, out here busy giving young artists, especially within hip hop, the opportunity to present themselves to this country and to this culture. I have to ask, like, has the come up that, let's say, so like your come up compared to the come up of new artists, has it changed that significantly? Because obviously, back then, 2003 to 2002, when you guys dropped from Google Function, like, obviously, I'm guessing like the main platform which it was like through, it was digital. It was, it was actually physical. It was through CDs, possibly cassettes and such. Whereas now it's like we have platforms such as SoundCloud, such as Apple Music, such as Spotify, and just in terms of like obviously like the performance has changed, right? But has the come up, the grind and the rise, is that do you still see parallels to the way y'all were doing it?
Um, the processes will always change, but the heart and the desire has to always be the same. You know, it's like when I listen to AKA's like desire to make great music. You know, that's something that like I know. When I look at Casper's desire to build a business, to be entrepreneurial with his stuff and make as much money as he can, that's something I know. It's a desire that literally, like, the desire never gets old, but the systems get old. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, like, we were dropping, if you had to drop a CD, um, um, we literally needed someone to burn a CD. We literally needed a studio to record it. We built our own studios, but then we also needed to go distribute it in stores. Like, you had to go, like, imagine going to a Pick and Pay, going to a store. I mean, today, all those things that, I mean, if I wanted to reach you, I literally need to fly to Cape Town or send you a mail or something. This wouldn't be happening. So, like, the thing is that, like, the process of making the music is now faster. Now it's really like now the heart that people have to make it succeed. The desire to succeed. Those are the key things now. All you have now is desire. Everybody's probably got the same tools, but it's about who's got the biggest desire. And even back then, everybody literally like had the same lack of tools, but it was the desire to have the tools and win that literally made us what we became. It was to have the tools and win. But today, the tools, yes, the tools are not as intense as back then, but it's desire. Desire is the key thing, the desire to win.
I see. Damn, that's yeah, and this is all just it's all really like because like for me, I've always really tripped out on like the fact that back in like early 2000s without having, your social medias that are like basically bombarding people, without having Instagram or Twitter, without being able to upload your music to like a free platform to SoundCloud. And the fact that there were artists like yourselves and like others that, were able to build themselves to the point where it's like, okay, now we're like a nationwide phenomenon, you know we go like all over the country. People know our names. People know our hit singles. Um, in terms of building your fan base, how did that come about?
It's something that is it's actually a marketing theory. Actually, I think they call it some diffusion or something. We literally had early adopters, meaning like everyone in the hood. Literally, we were like the innovators, but early adopters, and everyone in the hood literally like kind of people who were close to us knew about us. The early adopters literally like sold us to the 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 second wave of adopters, which is the um, it's like the so you get your early adopters. I'll tell you now, and which is like, and then you have the early majority, right? The early majority follows the early adopters, which is right after the right after the early adopters have said, "Yo, this is dope," and then the early majority goes, "Okay, let's check it out." And they check it out and they go, okay, it's cool. And then the late majority of the guys who literally like, nah, FOMO, and they go, yo, we want to catch up with this. By the time we were signed, by the time we were in the Rancho side of things, we were literally now reaching the people who were like the late adopters, those were the masses. But how we started in the 90s, late 90s, 6, 7, 8, 9, literally we were doing house parties at our houses, we were selling tapes, recording the tapes, selling them in the streets, and people who knew about us at the time were the ones who were literally going, yo, this is dope, you got to check. So we were something special to the community that knew us before everyone else knew us. And that literally like the early adopters influenced the early majority, where the early majority was probably like the labels now saying, yo, we need to reach out to these guys. By the time the labels signed us and we did a deal, they were literally now blowing it up to the majority, to the late majority, and the late majority were like, we've heard of this thing, of these guys, and who are they? And when they heard of the music, they're like, okay, maybe we should fuck with these guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the process. It literally started in the 90s, and in the 90s in school, we were just doing it for fun. Everybody knew what we were doing. Then we put it on a tape. People started distributing our tapes, like now when I say that, oh, someone is playing my music in Durban, you're like, so what? But like back then, there was no internet. Someone literally had to take your tape and get it to Durban. And whether they were in a plane or a bus or a taxi, for someone in Durban to say they've heard your music and you in Joburg and there's no radio, you're like, wow, how the hell did it get there? You
Oh
know what I
yeah, I
mean?
hear you. I
You
hear
know?
you. It's almost like if I could say from my experience, it's like the modern equivalence of like going onto SoundCloud and then going to Insights and then seeing that somehow majority of the plays on one of my tracks or something is coming from America. It's like is that similar feeling?
It is definitely like that. It's definitely like that. So you can imagine we were fascinated by the fact that like without it, with this being independent, we were actually being played in someone in Cape Town knew us or
Mm,
in that we were fascinated by things like that.
I hear that. I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, another thing I want to touch on is, do you think it's necessary for young artists to push to be the next ideal industry standard, if you know what I mean? For, let's say, a producer to have a specific sound, or for a rapper to, not necessarily rap in a certain way, but to have these aspects that are going to get, your mainstream listeners within the country. Hope you think that's necessary?
I'm not sure what your question is. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like so okay, if I had to explain something like me, I had always pushed to, I always wanted industry fame. I always wanted to make it there. I always wanted to work with producers, like I mean, work with artists like Ricky Rick, maybe work with like a Frank Casino or your MTs. And I found myself in terms of my sound as a producer, I found myself my sound starts to become like quite diluted in the sense that there was this one specific sound that I thought people who listen to these artists would want to hear, you see. And I felt that my own growth as an artist really started to become hindered because every time I opened up my software, there was one specific thing I was going for the whole time. Eventually, that kind of changed when I started to find people around me who weren't necessarily, going for that same come up. Whereas like for them, they just wanted to produce, they just wanted to make music for the sake of, loving it. That's when I realized that for me right now at this point, there's no point in me trying to shape and model my sound to, being someone that could very quickly make it in the industry and get a label deal, get signed within like 2 years or something. So yeah, basically, would you say it's better to for young artists to like stay independent and create and work with the people among them, or should they, get out there immediately and seek the radio play, seek the gigs, try and get the ears of your local labels, try and get the ears of some of the bigger artists in the country?
Well, I mean, I think that like, everybody literally needs to do what's right for them. You know what I mean? You might get a big deal with a big label, but it doesn't talk to what you want to do as an artist. That's, like the concept that like, or the idea that like a label will sort you out is also misplaced, because the concept, you need to know what you want to get, right? And once you know what you want to get, you basically, or where you want to go rather. And once you know where you want to go, then you start seeing who fits in there. Does a label even fit in where you want to go? You might be creating niche music. That's not like a label's priority. Why would you, um, why would you be, uh, uh, trying to chase someone else, and someone else's sound? Why would you want to try sign to a label that literally doesn't develop artists? They just literally want artists when they're going, and they support them on that level. It's like some people want mainstream support, but they haven't even built the traction to be on the mainstream platform. This artist thing is a journey. You have to build yourself to get there. And even if you'd have a song that's on the mainstream platform, you could just be a song, but it's not you. When that song is out, you out. So you could almost like work yourself to get a big song onto a platform, but if you haven't worked to be considered as, oh, that's the creator, be respected on it, then it is what it is.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. So yeah, I have a personal question, but I think it also could help quite a bit in terms of the game, in terms of like sample clearances and such. Do you think it's as important within South Africa for an artist to clear the samples that they use in their music than what it is for someone in America, say like your Kendrick, say like your Kanye's? Because do you think like as a budding South African artist, we could kind of just fly under the radar in terms of that while still giving credit to the original people, or what do you think is necessary?
Because you see, it's not even like that. Like, there's no streaming has literally cut down the walls of you as South African knew this. That's why you're finding like a lot of South African artists are now being looked at, or African artists are now being looked at as by the world, because they start looking at these artists. You look at artists like Nasty C, who, I mean, Strings and Blings had like what, close to 28 million streams. That's probably more streams than a lot of American artists. You know what I mean? So already now they start looking at numbers and not region. you know. So if you got like them crazy numbers, it's region. So if you are busy taking someone else's song, you are eating into the numbers. It's not about your region anymore.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is why Burna Boy, all these African artists are getting the Jews they're getting. It's because to they're not being compared on American standards anymore. Everybody now is being compared on a numerical standard. how many streams do you have? And if those numbers literally are bigger than what someone else in America is doing, who's probably supposedly doing well, then they're gonna move their attention to you. So it's a numbers game, less a region game. So if you're sampling somebody, you literally like even if it's one or two or three people that pick you up, the point is that like you're taking away from the numbers of the original composer if you haven't got it cleared.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah, because
And
that's
what's the risk? I mean, what's the risk? Imagine they did that and Master KG blew up the way he blew up. You know what I mean?
yeah. Nah, I do hear that.
Not
I
like
do.
he knew he was gonna blow up.
Mm, nah, I do hear because it's like it's such a gray area for me because it like one point it's like it's because like for me and like lots of people it's like on one side we have people telling us like yo put your music on Apple Music, I want easy access to it, but at the same time it's like the way I see it is like I have the heart of like a boom bap producer, you see. So before I try and lay down keys or something, I'm listening to samples, I'm listening to what I can chop, what I can flip. And it's like I feel so conflicted about it because it's like, I'm expressing my music through the way that I would want to do it. But at the same time, it's like monetizing is going to be difficult because now there's a whole process that I have to go through. We have to contact the label of this artist, get their permission, and then only can I release it, you see. So it is something I feel really conflicted about. But I mean, at the same time, it's like I'm still so early in this that it's like it doesn't really seem that much of a big worry for me. It just feels like it will sort itself out when it needs to. Like when I need to step into it, I feel like I'll be able to figure something out. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually the original person that was gonna interview you actually drew up some pretty interesting questions over here. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna ask you some of them that he mentioned. One that actually really stood out to me was do you think house music in South Africa seemingly has more replay value than hip hop music?
So where are these questions from?
This is from Lebo, who was originally going to interview you but couldn't make it.
Mhm. Do I think ask that question again?
So this may be obvious, but does house music in South Africa seemingly have more replay value than hip hop music?
Yeah, it has a broader reach. Yeah, it's broader reach, and it is a broader reach by default. It has a broader, like more replay by default, and it's also fair to say it's also borderline more relevant on from a content side at times, for the masses than most of the rap music, which is the most of the rap music is not relevant to South Africa or South African townships, and even if there is rap music that's relevant to those South African townships, it's never really supported on mainstream platforms.
Mm-hmm. No, I do hear what you mean. I do hear what you mean. Then another question he wanted me to ask you is, so basically, like you wrote here, I know you've said that people now move towards digital, and you likened it to the new Mnet, but the current South African economical climate and ripple effects of damage from COVID-19. Would you say that paper is still relevant in essay marketing, or is digital the wave and everything else is the stone wheel created long, long ago?
Um, well, I think the internet is bigger than the Mnet now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and yes, people will have data challenges like similar. That's why Mnet has got access also. It's got different packages. So, so you'll only be able to consume what you can afford. That's really what's going to happen. But the internet is definitely a marketplace. So, it's a marketplace. It's an entertainment marketplace. It's a retail marketplace. It's a lifestyle marketplace. I mean, you only access what you afford. You know what I mean?
Oh yes,
You
yeah.
can afford a WhatsApp and memes, that's what you can access. You're still on the internet.
See what you mean. See what you mean. And then like something else I think is also pretty interesting. So if we look at Cliff Central and also Slikour on Live, what's interesting is that both operate on a web-based user interface. I'm interested to know if this is because we aren't yet in the mobile app trigger happy market yet, or is it more because there are limitations that mobile applications have which restrict how you can leverage your user base in advertising brands or in advertising brands?
I think it's definitely um, wait a minute. Wait, what would you say in that question? You said I actually had an answer, but then I started listening to what you were saying, and I lost
Oh,
my answer. Yeah.
so it's basically so like if you look at Club Central and also Slick on Life, what's interesting is that both operate on the web-based user interface. I'm interested to know if this is because we aren't yet in the mobile app trigger happy market yet, or is it more because there are limitations that mobile applications have, which restricts how you can leverage your user base in advertising brands?
Okay, definitely it's definitely the latter, the limitations of how we can utilize our audiences, you know. We're limited with how we can utilize our audiences when we're on other platforms, you know, even if we're on social media, we're limited. So when you literally look at a platform like Slick on Life, the audience that goes with Slick on Life, I'm able to kind of build profiles that I'm able to manage. Do you know what I mean? So it's a different journey, and it's ownership to a certain way. It's the you know what people don't understand is that like the same way that like they were taking land, they were taking all these things. You know, truth of the matter is that like part of getting your power, part of like taking over people is like Google is taking over people. You know, it's taking over people's lives, Facebook, social media. So the new ownership, even if it's not on a scale as they are, the new ownership is having your own platform, building your own audiences, and being able to leverage those audiences. And that's the new space of ownership. Anything else is you just being a follower. Hence, they call the social media. Hence, on social media follow platforms you follow. You know what I mean?
See that, yeah. That actually perfectly what that answer you just gave actually just perfectly segues into this next question. So understanding that there's a massive scramble for the African consumer, how do you maneuver the landscape of content creation and the marketing of it to brands and advising them on how to interact with communities on the ground?
I think everything really goes per the brief of the brand with what they want to expect. But I think my principles are simple is that, you know, we always have to be truthful to who we are as a platform. We always need to know why we're doing what we're doing. And the way I see it, we complement the artists. You know what I mean? We support the artists, we complement the artists. We don't compete with the artists. So so at all times, even when we're working with brands, we love working like if it was a platform, that's related to Slick on Life, we love working with brands that assist us to complement the artists further, no matter what scale they are.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. So yeah, I'm just gonna basically just gonna diverge a little bit more. I just wanna get into back into the hip hop. So like I mentioned before, you kind of basically really are like this kind of gatekeeper slash guiding light into the scene, because of the way your platforms be pushing. I know for me, like there's certain artists who I've gravitated towards in recent times, where it's like I'll just see a project of theirs pop up on Apple Music. And I go bump it and realize, oh shit, okay, wait, you from SA? Let me go do some research. Go to YouTube. First thing that pops on, boom, boom, Slick on Life interview. You see. So, with that being said, are there any artists that you can see taking, the crown within hip hop, or any others that are like right now who may still be small, but who are pretty close to making a really big impact within the culture?
It's always difficult to identify like who takes the crown and how many people have how many seats the crown has also,
Yeah, I see
but
what
you
you're
can
saying.
always you can always see a generational movement happening, similar to how we saw the generation of Casper and Nati and Ricky and Major League. They literally like ganged up to become what they became. You know what I mean? And if you look at like things like AKA, he literally like was a slow burner. He literally took time to get to where he is. Um, and you look at it today and you go, well, if history repeats itself, what does that look like? I mean, we already know that Nasty's already gone. You know what I mean? With regards to a certain audience, I mean, the guy that really, for me, has been really impressive and is leading the new generation is Costa. Costa's leading the generation not only in he's leading the generation through his work, most importantly. Costa's literally working in his generation is working the hardest. And when I say even work, I even go as far as um, he's a white dude who literally puts in the work to understand the black language
Yeah,
so he can be able to, he's not comfortable. You know what I mean? He's the first guy in his generation who's actually put in so much work to work on a project and taken so much time to do it and built the right features and followed up. See, he hasn't dropped the ball. He's followed up on every kind of um, opportunity that's been passed to him. He's followed up on it. And besides music, that also literally like kind of puts you in a position where you can win. So I think Costa definitely is leading the new generation without a doubt, with regards to work ethic, with regards to product, and look, I think music is debatable. Music will always be debatable. But I mean, he's had some of the biggest singles. I mean, his video hit 1 million views. One of his first videos. So music is still on the way, but if he keeps going, he'll literally be on the seat before we know it. You know.
yeah, that, yeah. I mean, me personally, like at first, I didn't really gravitate that much towards Costa because, like, yeah, obviously, like I just saw, okay, it's a white dude that's busy spitting in the neck. It could come off a bit gimmicky, I guess, but just seeing that, like, it wasn't really a gimmick, and that, rather than what some people may consider cultural appropriation, what I saw the more I listened was actually rather cultural appreciation, you know. And the fact that, yeah, like you're saying, like the amount of work that I would have to take to fully step into and actually appreciate black culture and, not use it as some sort of a marketing tool or something like that. Like I have to give it up to him for that. Um yeah, another thing I definitely want to ask about is this something that I always see popping up in like essay hip hop debates. You always hear people trying to make comparisons of like your biggest South African rappers to like your biggest international American rappers. So you hear people say stuff like, AKA's SH Drake or like Nasty could be seen as like SH Kendrick or something like that. Like how do you feel about these comparisons? Because I know
I
in
think
some,
I
oh
hate
yeah,
them. I hate them. I don't like them. I don't like them. Why can't people just be who they are? You know,
yeah, yeah. I hear that because like,
we don't always have to validate ourselves by being a country's whoever's. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I hear it because like for me, I was actually thinking about it today, and for me, the type of energy that it brings is like it's like saying that if it wasn't for Drake, then AKA wouldn't exist. It's basically, bringing the existence of this artist and their music to, bringing it down to the point that it's like, if it wasn't for this American artist or Canadian artist, whoever it is existing, your music wouldn't exist. It's basically like it's like devalidating what they've done and the work that they put in my opinion, to like stand out and be who they are, you know.
Mm, mm. That's true. That's true. We don't need we we appreciate global music and artists, but we don't always need to validate ourselves.
I hear what you mean. I hear what you mean. So with that being said, I also need to ask you, so how, in terms of like creating hip hop within South Africa, like what do you need to do, not necessarily to stand out, right? But to create something that's uniquely South African. Like all the characteristics which you add to your music, which immediately let you know that this is South African.
I think it's simple. You gotta firstly broaden your palette of what you listen to. You gotta literally broaden your palette of what you're reading. Because everything that you are communicating in the song is a reflection of the things that you're consuming. So if you're only consuming American stuff, you're gonna literally your output is gonna be American. So it's not even a case of anyone telling you that. It's like that's what I'm saying. I use the example with Costas that like he's clearly got a couple of black friends, but he wasn't just hanging out with them just to be. He was consuming their culture. He was consuming how they talk, and so when he put it on a song, it literally like wasn't like it wasn't like what are you doing? It was innately in him, the way he dances. He's been consuming a culture that literally is not really innately his. While black South Africans are always trying to be either white or trying to be American. So it's these things that we literally like. That's where we got overtaken because we don't go through the work of consuming what is not mainstream, consuming what's not popular. We only consume what's on mainstream platform, what's easily accessible, but we don't go out to go find other things that define who we are. So for me, once you can find who you are, it literally will come out in your content.
I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, nah, I definitely hear that. So if I'm not mistaken, this interview was supposed to be like 45 minutes long, right? Or is think we got like 5 more minutes, or yeah, we could start basically just wrapping it up. Yo, I'm gonna
So
be
on
honest
you,
with like
on you.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I feel like I've exhausted everything I gotta say. Cause like, yeah, like I was saying, like I was super nervous coming into this. Cause I literally got notified about, it's like, yo, can you do this interview? Can you interview Slicker? And I was like, wait, when you say Slicker, you mean Slicker from, as in Slicker from the Squad Academy? He's like, yeah. I was like, damn, okay, this is crazy. This is crazy, but yo, for real, man. Thanks so much just for this opportunity to, just chop it up with you, to,
Thank you,
also get this valuable information out of you. Because, yeah, I mean, for myself, it was really necessary, but like also know for like other young artists who just kind of feel hopeless in a sense, like it's definitely necessary. Because it's weird because like I know there's still a lot of people out there who are still kind of waiting, who still have these dreams. It's like, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be able to get this amount of clouds and some play. Oh yeah, that's actually something else I was to ask before we wrap it up. Clouds.
bro.
Does cloud matter?
Um, um, the opposite of saying cloud matters is saying cloud doesn't matter. Cloud is a place to play in the game, one way or the other. I guess it's how you use it. It has a place
Okay.
to play. It exists because it matters. It has a place to play in the game, one way or the other.
I see. I see. I see. I see. I see. So I mean, so basically, is there any points in chasing cloud? Is there any point in getting this influence on all these platforms? Is there any point? Because like I know obviously you as an artist you shouldn't make that your sole priority. What your sole priority should be is that you should be refining your craft, and you should be making some, like at the end of the day you should be able to make pieces of art which you believe truly represents who you are, and at the end of the day makes you happy. But getting that clout is still, I would say, is still somewhat a a fairly big aspect of, you know, being able to, how can I say, almost monetize or, you know, get a following. So
But I think if you're doing dope shit, eventually you will get the clout. You know, eventually the right people will see it and will share it if you're doing dope shit. The thing about cloud is that you can buy clout. You know what I mean?
yes,
So we from a place where you had to work to get clout, right? You had to you have to earn your stripes. You have to pay your dues. People say, "Yo, you know that guy's done this and that. He's gotten to this point through that." But right now, what social media has done is that people are just buying clout. You know, just through by doing sensational stuff. You know what I mean? By dragging other people. By dragging the people that authentically work for the cloud. So this, I think, that's what social media has done, is open a door for people who are too lazy to work for their own, and they always want to do it by dragging other people.
oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
So
Nah, see,
cloud is not a bad thing. Anything you do that's great, you get the cloud. Anything that you do that's great. But the thing is that we're in a world where people are literally like taking shortcuts, you know,
yeah,
and
nah,
people are taking shortcuts, you know.
nah, I definitely know what you mean. Because I mean, at the same time, though, it's like, you know, in that sense of buying clout, like I was like, there is this like literally like there is like a monetary sense of it in that, you know, you can buy, you know, promotions from Instagram or Facebook, which is literally gonna like slap your music or whatever post you put up on people's feeds without their consent to some extent, I guess. I mean, in the sense, that in itself, I guess, to some certain extent, is buying clouds, I guess, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's buying. That's directly buying clout, but also they say that also stealing clout is trying to take other people's like lightning by putting them down.
Yeah,
Like so Casper's this, so Casper's this big, so you have to say Casper stole my song, and then you start like hitting Casper and tagging Casper all the time, and then people start going, "Oh, yo, who are you?" You know what I mean? So there's that thing where people literally like um, have to um, underestimate other people for them to be seen.
I see. So, like, basically, trolling as a means to, you know, get your name out there.
Exactly.
I see that.
Exactly.
I see that. Yeah, and so I mean, it's crazy that you mentioned that because like it almost seems like it's such something that's just, you know, it's like unique to America and the American platform. Like I wouldn't think that, you know, trolls in that type of level would exist within the South African scene. But yes, it's crazy to think that they do actually, you know, because I don't know, it's counterproductive. I feel, you know, as an artist to, you know, for me to go out there and like maybe go say like, yeah, I make better beats than ganja beats, or like my drums sound better than like 808X or something like that. That just seems really pointless because it would it'd be like me just it's me burning bridges before the bridges are even built, you know.
It's a real thing. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. You know. Yeah, man.
But yeah, anyway, Slicker, my man, thank you so much for this opportunity once again. Yeah, this was, like I said, this was really great to just chop it up with you, just get the knowledge from one of the OGs of this essay game. Like, I feel like, for real, it's almost like it literally feels it's as if, you know, as if like a young American artist had to meet RZA or something like that, you know. That's how I feel right now. So yo, for real man, thank you so much. Thank you for all you've done for the culture and so with Squatter Camp, with Slikour and Live. We truly do appreciate that. So, yo, for real.
Thank
Um, yeah, to anybody that's gonna watch this has been the rap. My name is Jerry, aka Chokma. This is our guest Slicker. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks, my bro.